Well, welcome everyone. It's 5 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and you have just joined the Carbon Literacy Action Day World Tour webinar. I'm Phil Corbell, co-founder of the project and the Director of External Relations here. I'm as close as we're going to get as host for the evening, but a little bit of housekeeping to start. If you want to optimize your view, the proportion of speaker to slide panel, I would use the view button at the top right of your screen if you're not familiar with Zoom. And between the slide and the panelist, there's a click and drag bar that you should be able to find and optimize your viewing that way. We're not expecting a fire alarm today, so no, hang on, no, that's the wrong housekeeping, isn't it? Sorry. Yes, so that's about all the housekeeping. We'd love to hear what you think about what you see and hear today, so please feel free to get on social media and tag us as we go along. So welcome, as I say. Luckily, it's not just me. We've got some fantastic guests coming up, but also joining us from the Carbon Literacy Project, we'll have Dave Coleman, co-founder and MD, and my two colleagues who've put all this together, Chloe and Grace. You'll be hearing from them as well. So we're going to crack on in a minute, but not everyone here will be appraised of what we do. Some of you will just simply be curious. So in a very, very short summary, we're the charity that enables the use of our adaptable framework for a day's worth of climate action training. We're based in Manchester in the north of England, and you'll hear a bit more about what we do from Dave in a bit. But why we're doing it? We firmly believe that we will not get the scale and speed of action that science demands of us to get to a safe place in terms of where our climate's going without everyone being on board. And by being on board, I really do mean that we should have everyone enabled to do their best thing. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, why we've created this globally unique thing. It's about making sure that climate action is being done with people and not to people, and that everyone can step up and be part of tackling this thing that's happening around us and optimizing the benefits that come from tackling that as well. That's why we do it, but also why the theme of climate inclusion, the theme of our climate of our project, the event today. If it really is to do with everyone, we've got to go the extra mile to include those people who wouldn't otherwise be included, so that climate action isn't just seen as something being done by large corporations, by the privileged, by the people with big footprints, but particularly to do with those folk that are most impacted by the climate crisis. Inclusion is absolutely vital. It's also vital if we're going to have a just solution to facing the climate crisis as well. And that means all sectors of society being on board. And that's why we've chosen the theme for this year's Carbon Literacy Action Day. And we'll get a very good sense of that as we go through talking to people. So you'll be aware that something's going on in Azerbaijan at the moment, COP29 in Baku. Because of that, one of our most significant supporters hasn't been able to join us today, but we have had an opportunity to have him record a video for us, which we've only just received. In the way of these things, you'll recognize him as quite a busy person, but this is the first showing of this message of support from someone who's pretty significant in the climate agenda in the UK and, dare I say, globally. But let's play the video.
I'm really sorry I can't join you on the call, but I wanted to send this message to say congratulations to everyone who has completed their carbon literacy training today. You know, I am a massive fan of the Carbon Literacy Project, and the Carbon Literacy Action Day sounds incredibly exciting. And I know the team has recently reached a milestone of 100,000 people certified as carbon literate in more than 30 different countries across the world. And that is a testament to the work of Phil, the incredible work of Phil and the team, and also to the clear appetite from people around the world to know more about what they can do to tackle the climate crisis. Now this week, I'm representing Britain at COP29 in Baku. And obviously, international summits are vital to delivering the progress we need to protect our home for future generations. But it's also the case that we'll only succeed by engaging people right across our society. It's not just about governments. At school, at work, in their communities. That's why carbon literacy training, for me, is so powerful. And the theme of this year's Carbon Literacy Action Day, climate inclusion, is really important. Through the transition, we've got an obligation, indeed I think we've got an opportunity to address the deep injustices that scar our country. We can tackle fuel poverty, create good jobs, clean up our air, improve quality of life, and that will only happen if the widest range of people are involved in the conversation. So once again, congratulations on what each of you have achieved. Thank you to the brilliant Carbon Literacy Project team, and I hope this is just the start of us working together to do great things for our country and indeed the world.
Well, that was worth waiting for. Thank you. Thank you for resolving the sound there. I hope you'll agree that that was quite an endorsement. Oh, folks, I should just say, sorry for international participants. That was Ed Miliband, the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero in the UK government. And he is our lead politician, apart from the Prime Minister, in Baku at the moment. He means it in terms of climate action, and as far as we can tell, he's absolutely driving the agenda through the national government here. It's quite extraordinary, and to have that level of endorsement from him is what can I say? It's just extraordinary. He really does mean it. I had the privilege of talking to him before the election, and he simply gets it, and he's driving this. So I think we're very lucky to have him driving this agenda, and obviously hugely privileged to have that level of endorsement. I think we might take up that invitation of it just being the start. And I hope it goes without saying that whilst I was name checked and the team, that thank you is for every single person that has participated in the Action Day and carbon literacy as a whole. This is a massive team effort. So yeah, we're quite lost for words in terms of being able to respond to that. So without further ado, let's move on to hear from Dave about a quick roundup. Actually, before we do that, Dave, was that the first time you saw that message?
It's actually the second time. I had just enough time because we got the video so late. I had just enough time to see it before the event. But yeah, it's lovely to get that kind of high level endorsement. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I'm sure lots of people are going to see that video all over the place on socials and website in the coming days.
So Dave, over to you. Quick roundup of what we've been up to.
Good afternoon, or depending on where you are in the world, good evening or good morning. My name is Dave Coleman. I'm the co-founder and managing director of the Carbon Literacy Project, together with Phil. So it falls to me to give you a bit of context for why it is we're doing Carbon Literacy Action Day this year and share some of the highlights of the project this year. If you're joining this call, clearly you're aware of what carbon literacy is, a day's worth of learning that involves learning, but also actions, individual and group actions. So the first headline for us this year was that we hit 100,000 carbon literate citizens. It's rare to have your headline stolen by a Secretary of State, but nevertheless, you already shared that headline with you all, I know. But for us, this is a major milestone. We've been going for a little over 10 years now. We started with a blank sheet of paper. Our growth was very small to begin with, but it's accelerating more and more quickly. And the significance of that number is not just that it's a big round number and it's all very nice that we have 100,000. It's that because each individual takes, not just learns, but takes an action as an individual and as part of a wider group of people, 100,000 people mean more than 200,000 individual actions to address climate change. And more importantly of that, because people are now carbon literate, they think about things in a different way, and it stimulates the kind of low carbon culture we need to build, not just nationally, but globally, if we're to successfully address climate change. So for us, 100,000 was a very big milestone to hit. Shown graphically, when we hit that 100,000, this is roughly what it looks like since our original founding. So as I alluded to, very slow growth to begin with, as we started from a blank sheet of paper, but near exponential growth in recent years. And that growth is only accelerating as more and more individuals and organizations and indeed nations adopt carbon literacy as a tool to further their climate action. So because we've hit these kind of numbers, many of you will be familiar with this blue graphic that we use. But to indicate just how quickly we are growing, we hit 100,000 in July. We're now at 112,000 citizens certified, almost 225,000 actions pledged, 8,000 organizations involved, 800 courses. So having started 10 years ago, we're now at a stage where we have the heft and the number of individuals and opportunities and resources and assets to share, not just nationally, but globally, and really accelerate our climate action. So during the year, because we've now got this depth of relationships and the web of people and organizations that belong to carbon literacy, it gave us the opportunity to increase, enhance, and launch a number of new tools and accreditations. One is a new accreditation for carbon literate educators. For many years, we've had an accreditation for organizations to say they are culturally carbon literate. Our Carbon Literate Organization, CLO award. CLE, Carbon Literate Educator, is for formal education settings. It's for schools, colleges, and universities, and for professional educators as a badge of quality to show organizationally they have carbon literacy embedded and culturally, and therefore are in a much better position to share that carbon literacy knowledge with others. So we had our first award ceremony. These are photographs of the original launch at that event. And the first 15 organizations were accredited as CLEs this year. And we hope that number grows quickly in the coming years. For many years, we've had an accreditation scheme for trainers. We enhanced that this year, updated it very recently, and we had our first in-person trainer awards. It was in person if you were in the UK. We have trainers certified as facilitators, trainers, and consultants all over the globe. And we hope in future years to be able to bring in to our award ceremonies people who are participating wherever they are around the globe. We hope to do that both for the trainer awards and for educator and for CLO. But it was lovely for us to be able to gather so many trainers together on the same evening to receive their awards and to interact and network with each other. But because we have all of these assets now, I've talked a lot about the global scale, and because we have numbers of people and we have trainers and we have organizations and we have educators, this year we launched a completely new accreditation called Carbon Literate Localities. And the idea of this is to bring together people in a locality, doesn't matter what walk of life, so that they all collaborate to make that entire locality culturally carbon literate. And the first organization, first locality to step up and say it wanted to do this was partly for obvious reasons, our home city of Manchester in the northwest of England. So Manchester has launched a project called Manchester Carbon Literate City and is working towards being the first carbon literate locality. To do this, a substantial number of people who live, work and study in that locality need to be certified as carbon literate. Manchester has a population of about 500,000. It needs 85,000 people to be certified as carbon literate, people who live, work and study within the city. That's its target. It's currently at 12,000. and it will take about 3 years, we think, to reach that number. But Manchester, we hope, is just the first of many localities that will adopt this approach. If you or your locality are potentially interested in this, you can contact us by email through all the normal channels, but also using the email address localities@carbonliteracy.com. But we hope to bring people together even more effectively in the next 12 months than we have in the past, so that the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts in terms of us all working together. Because it's the only way that we're going to not just address, but overcome the challenge that climate change presents us all with. So with that and the local, I'm going to hand back to Phil to return to the international once again.
Thank you very much, Dave. Great summary. Thank you. Yeah, we meant it when we said a world tour. We will be going around those locations, and some of those locations, I should say, but also looking through some of our participants that are with us at the moment. Fantastic to have people joining us from Abu Dhabi, from San Diego. And that's just me just skimming who's in there. And I did see someone is actually in Azerbaijan as well, probably at the COP itself. So greetings to all of you wherever you are in the world. I'd like to now introduce my colleague Grace, who's going to give us the first update on who's been doing what during the Carbon Literacy Action Day, or CLAD, as we will no doubt be calling it. But Grace is part of the team that's been putting this all together. So absolutely in the thick of it. Most of you will have had some communication with Grace too. Grace, how's it been going? What sort of numbers are we getting so far?
So it's been going great, Phil, and just massive thank you from me and the team to everyone who's been involved. So we've had the first batch of learners coming in, confirming their plans. And yeah, it's a really good mix. So we've had the Environment Agency delivering training to 50 members of their staff. Also Freedom Leisure, so they're one of the UK's leading not-for-profit charitable and leisure and cultural trusts. They've trained another 50 learners, and Pure Leapfrog, who are an innovation-led sustainability charity, they've trained 60 learners. So this is just a small snapshot of what's been going on this week. So far we've had 43 training providers confirmed, and I think you can see the numbers on my banner. Maybe the Zoom one is in the way, but we've got 1,160 confirmed learners taking part in this year's Action Day, which is really exciting.
That's so far.
Yes.
That's wow. So we're just getting reports coming in. Literally, this is part of the idea of this webinar, to find out who's been doing what. It's quite stunning what's going on. So we're trying to capture that and give a flavor of what's going on as we go through until 6:30 Greenwich Mean Time, 6:30 p.m. Gonna have to keep up with this multiple time zone thing. It's amazing. Grace, thanks so much for the sterling work so far. We'll hear from you and Chloe a bit later. So this is where we attempt to go to our first guest, and by the magic of technology I'm going to press this button. Fantastic. And we're going to go to Nairobi and meet Michael, who's going to tell us about what's been going on there. Greetings. Just out of curiosity, Michael, what time are we in Nairobi?
It's 8:20 p.m.
Oh, it's not so bad, not so extreme, is it? That's great. But lovely to see you there, Michael. Tell us a bit about Zuri Planet first.
Fantastic. So my name is Michael Esilaba. Great to meet you all. I am the Executive Director of Zuri Planet Africa, and I also serve as a lead trainer. So Zuri Planet Africa is a social enterprise that is basically focused on sustainability and climate action with the context of Africa. So we have a dual approach where we serve communities through carbon literacy and through other sustainable education approaches. And we also have a fee-based approach where we charge different organizations and individuals who are capable to actually pay for our solutions. So that's our business model, and we also spend a considerable amount of time with communities and doing community training.
But you're also a voice for climate action in Kenya, yeah?
Yes, I am.
And is my memory serving me correctly, but were you part of the COP delegation last year?
Yes, that's correct. I was very fortunate to have been selected by the Kenya government to be part of the COP team. That was last year and the year before. So it's really been a very exciting time to not only also just be, to also at least participate in policy making. And in addition to that, carbon literacy to me is really great because we're able to empower individuals to make those pledges, and then they actually take action into their own hands. So that's what, in my view, makes carbon literacy very special. It's just not about policy, but it's also about action.
And you're joining the dots there, which is quite fantastic. You also, I do recall our earlier conversations. There's a thing where we still just about tend to regard or refer to the climate crisis as a future crisis for us. For example, in the UK, that's absolutely not the case for Kenya, is it?
Yes, if I understood you correct, in terms of Kenya, we are now getting more aware about the impacts of climate change and the effects of it. We're seeing a lot of mudslides. We're seeing sea level rise. All those pieces that are impacting climate change really are impacting us, and we're beginning to be more aware of it. Even though, yes, it is known that Kenya's only, or Africa's only, releasing 3 to 4% of greenhouse gas emissions, but it doesn't mean that we also can't be part of the climate conversation. I think we all should do something to reduce our emissions and make a significant contribution towards climate action.
And sometimes that's about being able to advocate as well. That's just as important. Tell us a bit about the training you've been doing for the Carbon Literacy Action Day. What's been going on?
Great. Yeah, so it's been a very exciting time for me because this is the first year where we're really rolling out carbon literacy, and it's primarily to communities. So I'm pleased to actually announce that we have just during this period, we've trained 30 community members, and it's been very exciting because what we do are also based on the, thank you very much, the Carbon Literacy Project, for the grant funding that you offered us. We're actually able to pay for translation of our course to different localities and different dialects. And that has really helped us to pass the message, the carbon literacy message, just beyond the usual audience that we target. So it's really been great. 30 members. We hope to get a bit more, but we're definitely looking forward to training more members as time progresses. Yep.
That's fantastic. And that's the community pot that we run, folks. It's a way twice a year where we give small amounts of money to support those organizations that might not be able to afford the certification fees that we're obliged to charge. We can tell you more about that if you get in touch. We're running out of time, I'm afraid, Michael. We could talk for so long, but if you had one hint for people about to do carbon literacy, what would your top tip be?
My top tip would be, just I love carbon literacy because the power is more or less in your hands once you're empowered with the knowledge about climate action, and the fact that you're able to make behavioral changes and make pledges that have a positive impact in terms of reducing your carbon emissions. I find that very powerful, because I don't think there's any other training program that actually gives you that power in your own hands, and I think that's something worth taking home.
Michael, thank you so much. Can't wait to hear how it goes, and supporting you as carbon literacy grows across Kenya and the region. Thanks so much for joining us this evening, for you as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's a real privilege working with you. Take care.
Thank you.
So from Nairobi, we're now going to go elsewhere, in fact, to Perth in Australia, and quite reasonably, due to time zones, our colleagues at Edith Cowan University in Perth have actually recorded us a video to describe what they've been doing. They've been quite pioneering. They've been with us for about 3 years, really picking up the gauntlet, the opportunity for carbon literacy in Western Australia, setting a pace there. But let's see what they've got to say about what they've been doing for the Carbon Literacy Action Day. Let's play that video.
Hello from Perth, Western Australia and Edith Cowan University. We are taking part in CLAD for the 3rd year in a row with the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation. Staff and graduates across the department have been joining this program each year. In 2022, we won the CLAD Catalyst Award, which was a great accolade. In 2024, I've also developed a new program, a toolkit for the health sector based on the NHS toolkit in the UK. The Department of Health have put more than 60 participants through the program, and I have to say that their action plans are incredibly bold, brave, and have got massive impacts as they roll them out. They've had huge leadership support, and I am very excited to see where these initiatives go. Furthermore, this year, I've been talking to people across industry, government, utilities, the public, and ECU academics. They all see carbon literacy as a very valuable program in helping inform stakeholders on the reasons for transitioning away from fossil fuels in a bid to meet our Paris agreements. In 2026, we will move into a new city campus, which you can see behind me. Through this campus, we will be addressing so many more agencies and organizations in raising awareness on through carbon literacy on reducing our emissions globally.
Climate literacy is helping me understand the importance of involving diverse communities in climate action. Through climate literacy training, my goal is to bring this awareness to the tourism and hospitality sector, empowering businesses and individuals to make choices that benefit both the environment and local communities.
Climate literacy program is helping me to really understand the full scale and breadth of the issues that we're confronted with in a world that's just been determined to hit 1.5 degrees Celsius pretty much definitely in 2024. And this program is enabling me to ensure our students get the right information to make the right decisions in their business futures.
Climate literacy course is helping me understand how far behind we are and how much damage we are doing. The goal is to educate my family about their carbon footprint and take actions for a better world for our future. Not only our future, but future generations. Yeah.
I've worked in the climate change and health space for a couple of years now, and have recently completed the carbon literacy training and found it extremely useful for both my personal and private life. I found the carbon literacy training so useful, in fact, that I made my action plan to roll out carbon literacy training throughout the organisation. This has subsequently seen a scholarship program be established to help build skills and capacity within the workforce, really outlining the links between climate change and health. 27 staff have now completed the carbon literacy training delivered by Edith Cowan University and will become carbon literate as a part of CLAD 2024.
Motivational. We can be the seed of change.
Enlightening.
Eye-opening.
Inspiring. we can all make a difference.
If we work together. Refresher. Hope.
Better informed.
Wow, I think that's just great to see. That contribution from Edith Cowan University. You saw the variety of impacts there, how one organization can start a cascade in their city, in their state, the multiple cohorts and what was being picked up, and that sheer enthusiasm there. So that was absolutely fantastic to see, and I'm sure that there'll be much more coming from Perth as well. So let's move on and see where we can go now to find out what's been going on. We've spoken to community-facing training in Kenya, what was going on at the university in Perth, but now we go over to Nissan and hear from Stacey. Stacey, where are you? We've got you down in France. Are you in France?
I'm in Paris, technically the 15th, if you're familiar with the arrondissements.
Fantastic, lucky you. Good. I'm almost tempted to ask about the weather, but no, we haven't got time. So, Stacey, what do you do for Nissan, and what does AMIEO mean when it's at home?
Yeah, let me explain. So my title is I'm the Director of Corporate Governance and Sustainability for Nissan in the AMIO region, and AMIO spans Africa, Middle East, India, Europe, and Oceania. So pretty vast geography.
I was about to say just a tiny patch there, yeah.
Yeah, 140 countries in our boundaries. We operate in just north of 100 of those. So
wow, that's quite extraordinary. Let's start with the basics. Why carbon literacy for Nissan?
It's a great question and a very practical question. So I start with a bit of global context. Nissan has recently launched at a global level the next generation of our social and governance program or environmental programs. And that environmental program in particular, this is the 5th generation, and it has been, it was commenced roughly 20 years ago. So it's not something entirely new to the company by any stretch. However, it is something that we wanted to make sure that when the next generation was ready to come to light, that our employees could really understand a little bit better sort of what it meant. Very technical jargon, very big aspirations. But it was important to us to seize the opportunity when the next generation of the global program was launching as a starting point that employees could start to digest that more practically speaking. In parallel, what we were doing here in the region was designing the regional version of that same program. So obviously we are a part of the bigger picture. Our actions have to ladder up to the goals and objectives of the company. But it was also going to be the first time for the region to have its own sustainability strategy. So with these two big events kind of being developed behind the scenes and taking a look at the horizon for the launch timing and wanting to make sure that we were able to seize that opportunity, of course, education is at the foundation of all of that. So
and you've got a sector, you've got a massive company at the forefront of the transition for this massive sector as well, with huge targets, pioneering as well. What's the value to you of that education piece for something it's happening? I mean, you know, at the shop floor, you're making very different cars. You're reporting on different targets and the like. So the value of that education piece, what was that for you?
For me, it's twofold. There's a value to the business, certainly by having our 19,000 employees one by one become more educated and to understand how their work directly or indirectly links to this. As you mentioned rightly so, we're automotive company. We're on the forefront of the EV transition. We just last month announced we'll be the first OEM in the UK with V2G technology and the G99 certificate. There's a lot of people working in the company in our boundaries that touch these things. They can probably have a bit better understanding, but we want to make sure those who hear about our ambitions and our strategies and things of that nature can now really start to understand themselves directly or indirectly in their daily work, or their neighbors sitting next to them, or a function that they're working with, how they can contribute. And then the second, I would say, impact is individuals. We spend a lot of time at work, but we don't spend all of our time at work. And there's that double bonus, if you will, of being able to understand a little bit better outside of work, what your thermostat can do for you, what your diet can do for you or for the planet, these types of things. So we thought that we've got 19,000 people both working for the company and living their own lives, affect that kind of daisy chain effect or butterfly effect, we thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love our cascades. What's been going on in Carbon Literacy Action Day for you?
A lot. So we started with the training last year, just as kind of a pilot, first with my team to see how we liked it. We offered it to some other team members to see how they liked it, and we got a lot of really good feedback. What we did between last year and this year is we actually created with your organization some bespoke training that really speaks to the auto industry, that also really speaks to our diversity and our geographies, so that when the new program was coming to light and we started another round of this training, it was more relevant and more engaging. So
and relevance is absolutely central to our success. And we also need to give credit to Auto Trader, who initiated the sector-wide stuff that you've used as your springboard to adapt to your different regions as well.
Yep. So we launched the new program for the region last month, and then just this week we've started the first offerings of the new training, actually 2 days ago. So very interested to hear the feedback, to start to see the pledges coming through. Obviously conduct that PDCA and see how we can continuously improve and do better. But we're on our way to offering the new and improved kind of Nissan unique carbon literacy training. So.
Oh, and also amongst the family of carbon literacy across the many sectors that we tackle, this work of taking something that's initiated in the UK, but spreading it out, adapting it for different regional concerns, you're a great help to us in pioneering on that front as well. So Stacey, again, I wish we had more time. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for the support. And we look forward to hearing much, much more about what's going on with your work. Thanks again. Take care. So let's move on now for another update. If we go over, I had a slide for Stacey, sorry. Oh, we'll catch up. So yes, and we'll go to Jersey in a minute. We're running ahead. Chloe, the other person that's been bringing this all together, what sort of numbers are we getting in? What sort of people have been reporting in?
Hi, Phil. Hi, everyone. So I'm Chloe, the Carbon Literacy Action Day coordinator. So as Grace mentioned it, we're starting to receive results from training providers and organizations. So thank you, everyone who is filling up that jot form and getting this number to us. So yes, essentially, so far, I'm just going to work my magic with technology. And can you see my banner now on screen? Here you go. So far, we had 78 training providers confirmed across 15 nations, reaching a total of 1,888 learners receiving carbon literacy training during the CLAD period, which is the 4 days from the 11th culminating today. So yeah, the global reach has been incredible with 15 nations. And I just wanted to share some flavors from the diverse organization we took part. So we've got to summarize, the contribution as well from our great guest speakers earlier. So we had Zuri Planet in Africa, a consultancy committed to fostering sustainability to African communities. We had Edith Cowan University in Australia, as well as Nissan. And we also received result from Loughborough University, empowering students to become carbon champions, to then become trainers themselves, as well as Central Bedfordshire Council in UK, hosting open courses. So that means courses available for all their residents. So, you know, really showing how communities can pull together to make big changes. So that's everything from me for now. I will share some more updates later on.
Thanks so much, Chloe, and thanks for all the hard work so far. And again, showing the huge variety of training that's going on across the world. And talking of across the world, we're just hopping across from Paris to Jersey, where we're going to hear from Jane at the government of Jersey. You've had a day, haven't you? I mean, goodness, Jane. Jane, tell us a bit about who you are and what you do first.
So my name's Jane. I'm the Climate Change Engagement Manager in the Government of Jersey. So we deliver a number of carbon literacy courses through our organisation to a variety of audiences. You did well finding a little pin small enough to find us on a map, because obviously we are a really tiny island, but as an island community, we're very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change as everything changes. So we've spent the day today running Jersey's first Youth Climate Change Summit, where we had representatives from secondary schools across our island participate.
And you'd hired a hotel for this, yeah? So
we had to go to a hotel to have a big enough room for everybody to fit in. So we've trained over 100 young people and their teachers, and the idea is that they've built up their knowledge, they're looking at their pledges together, but also they're looking at how they can bring the rest of their schools on board and how we can begin to kind of cascade this out, like we've talked about in some of the other people's presentations.
But how was this landing, particularly with the young people? I mean, I presume that there was an element of self-selection. These were probably people enthusiasts, but the way that carbon literacy, I always feel, has a responsibility towards every learner, because the realization is absolutely double-edged, isn't it? Because you realize what trouble we're in whilst gaining the tools to do something about it. How was that landing with the young people?
So that's really interesting, Phil. So we've worked really hard to make sure that we don't just preach to the converted. So we went out of our way to make sure that we had young people who maybe weren't as aware or weren't as engaged in anything to do with climate change. So some of the schools did send their eco reps, who obviously are living the dream and, you know, already there heads above the rest. But what we had was a real diverse mix of children and young people who, at the end of the day, all were really enthused and have left feeling empowered. We obviously try, particularly with young people, to think about the impacts that climate change can have on their mental health through climate anxiety. So yeah, the course that we wrote, actually the team at the Carbon Literacy Project were really great with us, because we really wanted to make sure that we were safeguarding their mental health so that they didn't feel kind of they were leaving in depths of despair. We ran a friendly competition throughout the day, and I think one of the top 3 teams probably surprised everybody, actually. So some of our very close to big winners actually were probably the ones that were the outsiders at the start of the day, if you were going to be betting on them.
In terms of their starting point, and
in terms of their starting point, but they really went for it. So we tried to really focus on things that young people actually have control over in their lives. So there's no point talking to a 15-year-old about what sort of boiler they've got in their house, but we can talk to them about fast fashion, we can talk to them about the food that they eat, we can talk to them about how they choose to travel and some of their lifestyle choices. And we're really excited to see some of their group pledges that are what we've kind of said to them is they write the pledge as an individual, but actually that they can collaborate and actually come up with far more meaningful changes within their schools. So we've got a few who are talking about carbon labelling their menus in their school canteens, looking at the school uniforms that they have. I know not every country has school uniforms, but where they're provided from, how they pass them on, clothes swaps and stuff afterwards. So we're really confident that this generation have got it, and now we just need to get other generations to get it as well.
Fantastic. And obviously extraordinary advocates, you know, their ability to influence others. I think that once the fire is lit, they do that. So what next for carbon literacy on the beautiful island of Jersey?
So it is the beautiful island of Jersey, obviously. So our next carbon literacy course starts next week, and we have a much smaller cohort. So we are working with our local politicians. So we have our own government in Jersey. We're not part of the UK, so we have our own government. So we call those politicians our states members. And next week we're doing some carbon literacy training with our states members, so they understand why, as politicians, they need to be taking the climate emergency seriously, and that we're coming up to the time of year where they have their fiscal debate. So we're hoping that through their increased understanding of the importance of tackling climate change, we might see some of that reflect in the budgets that are allocated and the policies that come out of the island as a result of that.
Now, I know politicians don't really like profile or anything like that, but I mean, if I was to just gently suggest that you might have a competition on your hands for the title of world's first carbon literate island.
I think we're a way off that, but we can be aspirational, you know. I mean, I'm not pretending we're there by any stretch of the imagination.
But you're doing amazing work.
Yeah.
And there's a place off the northwest coast of England called the Isle of Man, who I think yeah, I'm just lodging that idea there, Jane, you know, in case it gets...
interesting, Phil, is we, as a small island crown dependency, we actually work with, we collaborate quite a lot with the other small island crown dependencies. So actually, you know, we do have a bit of friendly rivalry with the likes of the Isle of Man and with Guernsey and those other jurisdictions. But actually what we have a real connection with is other small island communities, and that was a real focus for us on our carbon literacy training today, was to actually look at us and maybe look at some of the other small islands around the world and how climate change is impacting them and us, and that whole piece about vulnerability. And you know, Jersey is in the grand scheme of things a very wealthy island. We do have pockets of deprivation, of course, as does everywhere, but actually our deprivation is very different to other people's. So understanding kind of Jersey's role in that for young people is really important, particularly when our major industry here is finance, and actually getting people to understand that what our Jersey-based companies choose to do with those investments has a massive global impact. So yeah, so we do watch Isle of Man, we do watch the other islands, and I think that's a really interesting way forward for us.
Fantastic. Jane, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for the extraordinary work and support, and we look forward to hearing much more on that front as well. Cheers. Good luck with it all. Thank you. Again, we're staying in not a huge jump in global sense, but let's go over to Barcelona now and hear from Ella. Ella, welcome. You've been training for the Carbon Literacy Action Day. Tell us a bit about what you've been doing with your organization in Barcelona.
Yeah, so we have been focusing on SMEs in Barcelona. Well, actually in Spain. Sorry, it just have been a lot of the participants have been based in Barcelona, but yeah, we've been focusing on Spain, and a big reason for that is, I'm sure, you know, with Spain, it's actually very different from the UK, probably quite different than France even, because we really are already suffering quite the brunt of climate change. Not even just in the last couple of weeks, which I'm sure everyone has seen, has been devastating. And, you know, having things like our phones going off with alarms saying, don't leave the house for the next however many hours. You know, climate change in Spain is happening right here, right now. And just going through the courses in these last few days, all of the risks that is talking about specifically with Spain are happening right now. You know, so we've had this year in Catalonia has been the most severe drought for, I think, over 100 years. Each year has, every single month has broken records with the temperature. We've had these floods that, you know, have created one of the biggest disasters in a long time in Spain. So I suppose a bit like Michael, we really are seeing climate change right now. And we're seeing it progress very, very quickly over the last few years, you know, suffering in all different types of ways. So I think it's very important, you know, this was something where I was like, okay, to try and offer this as a bit of understanding for everything that's going on around us, which is really quite, well, scary.
Yep. But how are you channeling that obvious sense of urgency, especially that your learners were feeling? In other words, how's the training gone?
The training's gone really well. The beginning part, I think, is always a bit heavy, I suppose, to actually realize, okay, this is a situation that we have created ourselves as humans, as people, with all of our burnings of fossil fuels, with our activities. But I really trying to focus on the positive impacts of actually, there are so many things that we can do, and there are amazing things that are happening already. In Spain, there are some incredible organizations that are doing the most exciting things, and we're really seeing changes already. In fact, an image that I saw the other day was that Spain has, it looks like from the graph, has completely decoupled their GDP from actually their emissions. Their emissions have gone down and their GDP has gone up. And that just, I was like, wow, okay, these things are really happening, and it's really exciting. And especially for companies to understand that they can do something, and, you know, they can make these changes, and it's actually such a positive thing for them. It's looking at the opportunities and the benefits that come through this, rather than, you know, I think a lot of people, a lot of companies more than anything, are feeling this pressure of, okay, we have to change because we're being told to. And I think it's so important with the carbon literacy to show, yes, we do need to change, but that's a really positive thing. And it can create so much opportunity, and it can create so many exciting new things that hopefully it makes something that people actually want to do. And they're like, okay, right, yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. Ella, you've expressed that so well with your enthusiasm there. And again, like all of our guests today, I'd love to hear more. I'm sure we will. Thanks so much for the passion, the energy you put into this, the support. I should also mention your colleagues in Bilbao, Carbon Free, who are doing some great work in Spain. So I think Spain's going to be a really good place for carbon literacy. Well, it is already, but let's look to the rest of it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Take care. So from Barcelona, we now move back to the home shores, and we'll be hearing now from Georgina. Georgina, good to see you.
Hi, Phil. Good to see you, and good to see everybody on the world tour for CLAD.
It's so exciting, isn't it? Tell us a bit about your multiple roles in carbon literacy.
Yes, having earned my carbon literacy consultant badge this year, I really felt that I needed to maximise my push and maximise the advocacy of carbon literacy training and delivery of carbon literacy training to live up to that status. So I've delivered over 4 days of this week, so I'm feeling a bit hoarse. Apologies for my voice. And I've delivered training across 3 different sectors. So social housing, civil service, and corporates internationally as well. So just starting, so it's been a very busy week for me this week, which I'm really happy about.
And before we hear about that, you also work as part of our team on training support. We support our trainers as well. So we have a trainer network, obviously absolutely vital to the success of the project, and you're part of the team supporting our trainer network.
Lovely. So I'm very proud to be part of the carbon literacy project and work with some fantastic colleagues. And I can see from both sides, from training delivery and also the hard work that the whole team at the project works on and delivers every single day.
So let's hear about social landlords, civil servants, and then we'll also talk about the international side in a minute.
Yep, that's great. So the first organisation I worked with is Riverside Group. They're a housing association based in the UK. They have a whopping 75,000 homes right across the whole of the UK, including Scotland. They have a very strong commitment to sustainability. They've got a sustainability team, a climate responsibility group, steering group and strategy. They have strong action plans. They report against ESG requirements every year for social housing.
Why if they're doing all this stuff, why the carbon literacy then?
Yeah, it was the missing element in terms of making, when sometimes when you've got a sustainability officer or a sustainability team, it becomes that person or that team's responsibility. So they're keen to really roll out sustainability as a cultural piece within the organisation, and carbon literacy was the answer to that. So they were really looking forward to kickstarting their carbon literacy journey, commissioning me as a trainer to help them get started. And
importantly, your background is in social housing as well, so you're able to bring that as well as the carbon literacy into the room. And we should also add that we have a shareable training toolkit for social landlords as well, if anyone's interested in that.
And the social housing toolkit is great. It's a whole day's worth of training material you can get started with straight away. So the Riverside Group were really proud to start their journey during this week. As leaders talk, they act. So they were really keen to deliver the training and have the training delivered to them yesterday and take part. For civil service, it's Salix Finance. They're a non-departmental government body, part of Department of Energy, Security and Net Zero, DESNZ. They're based in Manchester and London as well. I've been delivering for them for about 12 months, and we're very close to reaching a point where all of the staff, over 200 staff, have now completed their carbon literacy training. They are bronze in terms of CLO status, and they're working towards silver.
That's carbon literate organisation status.
CLO, yeah, carbon literacy organisation status, and progressing hopefully quickly after silver, quickly to gold as well. So as an organisation, Salix are the delivery agents for the government in terms of public sector decarbonisation funds.
It's financing that. So this is, again, it's the why for the what there, which is fantastic. Let's move to the final cohort and bring in Clinton in Kampala as well, if we may.
That's right. So I'm pleased to have been invited by Clinton from Climate Hub International to support carbon literacy training to corporate leaders in Uganda. So I'll stop speaking and allow Clinton to talk about the training that's been delivered in Uganda to corporate
but before that, Clinton, introduce the organisation, Climate Hub International. What do you do?
A very good evening and good afternoon to the comrades that have managed to appear on this webinar. And it's such an amazing journey. It's incredibly amazing for me in my country. Climate Hub International is an international social enterprise with specific social objectives to support mitigations that are aligned towards the climate frameworks, the couple of them, the ESGs and EAS. So where our focus 100% mainly seated is environment, social and governance initiatives to achieve the global carbon offsetting goals. If you look at our desired corporate philosophy, we clearly focus on to provide the adult climate education opportunities. That moves alongside with where the government really believes in around our climate action, especially in the Act. So the parties states clearly that shall develop and implement education and public awareness programs on climate change that clearly reports to our desired state of success on top of sustainability agenda frame.
And you came across this personally in your role in marketing and came across the carbon literacy training there. Why does carbon literacy work so well for Climate Hub International and your audience in Uganda?
Maybe just a little bit of my background. Being a practicing fellow from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, United Kingdom, they introduced the new model called sustainability marketing, and they needed qualified tutors to deliver it. Luckily, did I know that the institute was actually interested to deliver the course. So when the climate education qualification hence once the coordinator at the Charter Institute of Marketing at the group level requested my line manager, my sponsor, to identify 2 people to get enrolled for the carbon literacy programs. And that was me and my line manager. This sparked my journey into this climate education. So in 2021 was an extremely exciting year for me when I got qualified as a carbon literate, which started my journey into the sustainability entrepreneurship. So carbon literacy made me continue yearning for more knowledge towards comprehensive ESG and sustainability services for the impact of business transformation. This clearly sparked me never to look back when I joined carbon literacy. Looking forward, that's where I am right now. And I speak vehemently positive about the carbon literacy in Climate Hub International field.
And also as a mark of your ambition and inspiration, we were lucky to host a visit from the executive director of the Uganda Communications Commission to Manchester just the week before last to show the work going on at Coronation Street, a very famous TV soap opera, folks, and at Auto Trader, the FTSE 100 digital automotive marketing platform. So that was great to host you then. Thanks so much for that support as well. So again, seeing this work, and we're learning from you as well, as our ambitions necessarily move beyond the UK, the likes of yourself and Michael, other pioneers in the global South. It's so important for us to hear and learn from you about how this can land appropriately in your countries and for your diverse communities. What's next for Climate Hub International and carbon literacy, Clinton?
By the way, Chris, if it's been a remarkable journey, and I'm proud to break the news that if it wasn't that question in the carbon literacy paper, especially the physical evidence paper, that question is very impactful. What are the most important changes we need to make as a society to reach the net zero carbon? SECHA Uganda worked best actions. This began the genesis of this organization. We needed to implement the promised steps we need to take as a society to be carbon neutral by 2030. So ultimately, this sparked my journey to register Climate Hub International with those proposed activities that we wrote in the carbon literacy physical evidence paper. So as the journey grew, so the numbers are beginning to be growing so wide. I've worked closely with Georgina. We've so far delivered 71 candidates in the last pretty much 8 months this year. So we're looking forward to grow the numbers. We've drawn the plan to also deliver in government institutes so that we can help the government that is looking forward to change most corporate societies and organizations that are supposed to deliver what we call the science-based targets to drive down the country's carbon emissions. So apparently what is killing the country is waste management, and we've developed some content also to dive into those vulnerable communities so that they can understand what types of greenhouse gases that are impacting the country. So we're looking forward working closely with all qualified delegates and supporting stakeholders and corporate organizations to deliver next year's carbon literacy targets in my country.
Fantastic. Clinton, you know the phrase power to your elbow? I mean, all strength. And thank you so much for your support on Failing Energy. Like so many of our partners, this is only the start of a journey, isn't it? So we look forward to hearing from you next year. Thanks so much again. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot.
Let's find out what's been going on with a little bit of a catch up, if we may. Sorry, I should have said thank you, Clinton. Thank you, Georgina, as well. That's very rude of me. But yes, let's hear from Grace for a quick catch up on those totals, if we may. How's it going?
Yeah, all good. Let me just get the text set up. While I do, it's quite emotional seeing what everyone's been doing today. It's really inspiring. So yeah, massive thank you. Really couldn't do it without anyone. So we're super grateful. Yeah, amazing stuff. So obviously we've just had our amazing guest speakers. So the government of Jersey, they've trained over 100 young people. So that's all across years for 7 to 13. So yeah, a massive day for Jane and her team. We've had permaculture for innovation, as mentioned by Ella, running courses in both English and Spanish, and sustainability centric, delivering training both in Europe and Africa. We've also had figures from Keele University who are training medical students. They've trained 30 this week. And also the National Archives have run sessions this week for Yorkshire and the North East. So this is bringing the number of training providers confirmed to 105, with 2,589 confirmed participants so far.
Wow. Well, these are just coming in live as the day concludes. This is, you know, just totting things up as we go. And a dealer from Transport for London just popped up, just saying they've done 54 this week. The Transport for London story is humongous, but we don't have time for that. Grace, thank you so much for sterling efforts as ever, and we'll hear more as we get towards the end of this about what's coming in towards the total that we're getting just as we're live. There will be more totals to come as we go. But sticking in the UK, we're going to go to our home city, to Manchester, and hear about what's been going on at the City Council. Emma, welcome to the World Tour. Good to see you. Let's go back now. I know you're relatively new to what's a very, very substantial and long-running story.
Yes.
Manchester City Council helped us launch. We're the first city council to get going, and have gone through. They've really helped the growth of carbon literacy generally, but particularly in local government. But what do you think is the role of carbon literacy within the operations, the delivery of a very large city council in the UK?
Firstly, hi Phil and all the other panelists and everyone that's here today. Really fascinating hearing what everybody's doing, and also great to feel like part of something really big, because sometimes when you're working away on it by yourself, you don't realise what a ginormous thing is happening worldwide. So fantastic. The council is fantastically massive, over 7,000 staff, and delivering everything from people working in parks to highways and so on. So sort of my role, I've been in this post 18 months, and I was one of the volunteer trainers before that for 3 years. So my role is just helping that organizational change to help people change their habits, so that they don't print out reams of paper every time they do something, and they don't drive everywhere when they can get the bus and so on. So just getting people to think about what they can do individually, what they can do as teams. And we've trained this year, we have trained about 1,400 staff at the City Council, which has been meant an incredibly busy year for us.
And when did, over what period? That was in a year?
I think we've done that in the last year, because we've been having training every week, and we do a mixture of training face-to-face at the Town Hall Extension. We do online training, and we'll also go out to what we call our harder to reach staff, so people who work offline in parks, in highways, in the markets, etc. We'll go to them and deliver face-to-face. A lot of our staff don't use laptops and so on, so we will go out to them, but also over the course of the 18 months that I've been in post, I've recruited lots of volunteer trainers from across the council, so it's not just me doing the training. So we've got people, Luke, who's our sustainable travel officer, Dr. Ruth And, who is our one of our decarbonisation of buildings project managers, people from libraries, housing. So people that work across the council are also involved training, and that means that their influence is spreading. They influence their teams, they bring more into the training and delivery. So that there's a lot of staff to deliver to, but we're getting there slowly but surely.
It's not slow at all. It's extraordinary what's been
Was.
going on. I mean, we're talking about climate inclusion here, and with such an incredibly diverse workforce that you just alluded to, the council is making this effort to make sure that those people that wouldn't be stepping up normally to do this are brought in and enabled to do this. So how's that working at the City Council, at Manchester City Council?
Well, I think it's working really well, and obviously we try and put inclusivity, equality and diversity at the heart of everything we do, because we have such a diverse workforce that are working on such a vast range of things, and people working in homelessness and all sorts of challenges that are kind of quite overwhelming, but we work with them. We try and make sure that we've got a good range. That's why we do a good range of training, offer a range of dates. This week in the CLAD training, we've done training on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so that people who might be part-time, who normally can't come, if we're doing training on a Friday, so that they can come. So we're really trying to adapt to meet the needs of the staff we're working with, and try and make everything as accessible as possible for our staff.
And this marks such a great stage of evolution for a mature carbon literacy culture within a workplace, because what started as something, right, we're going to get the environment team, climate team sorted, and I always remember meeting the chief executive after they'd taken the whole senior leadership team through it, and she proudly said, well, I'm a vegetarian now. I mean, it's really, it's impacting at every point. But how would you say this idea of climate coming into every aspect of this huge range of delivery that a city council's responsible for, this idea of a low carbon culture, how's that expressing itself, Emma?
I think we're seeing loads of changes. Like I spoke to, say, a member of staff the other day who works in our facilities management, and she was saying we've changed all our cleaning products so that everything's refillable bottles. We've changed our fleet vehicles so they're electric vehicles, and it's sort of the same talking to different managers that people are saying, fleet vehicles, we are, we're changing. It's about people making the changes they can. Obviously, one of the things COVID allowed everyone to do was to learn how to do online working, online meetings. So there's been a big kind of cultural change in how we have our meetings and how people work, so that we're trying to be more digital. And that goes again for people who might be our legal team. They're saying instead of going into court with a huge ream of paper for a judge, they're sending it as an email. So there's masses of changes that are being made across the organization.
So the idea of climate everywhere is absolutely coming to life, which is fantastic. And again, so much more we could talk about, Emma. Much more. What's next? No. I think the question for you, doing what you're doing at Manchester City Council, a top tip for people to maybe who are coming on board, or something that you'd offer to everyone involved in the delivery of carbon literacy.
Just share your passion for it, I would say, would be my top tip. And a lovely quote that always stays in my mind is, the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. And I take that on board and think, yes, I'm going to do my bit. I'm not waiting for someone else to do it. So top tip, share your passion. We are on our way to get to gold standard carbon literate organisation for 2025. And we're also obviously a big part of the Carbon Literate City initiative that's being developed as we speak. So we're really excited about both those things for 2025.
Fantastic. Emma, thanks so much for the extraordinary hard work and that passion thing as well. Absolutely essential ingredient. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And from Manchester, we go southwards in England to Milton Keynes to join Leanne from Volkswagen. Leanne, welcome to the World Tour.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for the invite.
Tell us a bit about what you do and why carbon literacy has been embraced in the way it has by Volkswagen.
Well, my day job has nothing to do with sustainability. I'm responsible for after sales products and customer offers for the Volkswagen Group brands, so Volkswagen commercial vehicles, passenger cars, Seat, Cupra, Skoda, and also for working with our colleagues in Audi, which keeps me insanely busy. But I do have a passionate curiosity, and I think a few other people have said that already today. And when the opportunity to go on the Auto Trader course became available, that I was curious, and that has just created a passion that has led to carbon literacy becoming part of the offering that we have here within Volkswagen Group UK.
And that's so important. The story of people that wouldn't have classed themselves as sort of being eco or green, actually getting that wake up moment. And then the rest is history, as it were. A little bit, I'll come back to you in a second. It's worth quickly explaining what's happened with the sector, as well as individual courses. What we also are looking to do is sector-wide initiatives. And the first thing we've done in the private sector is with Auto Trader, who took their internal course and then offered it out to the whole sector. And they've done that very generously, supporting it financially, but also opening it out to the multiple parts of the sector that they're involved in, particularly by saying, are you interested? Come and get trained. And you were part of that initiative. So it's just worth explaining how that's happened. So you went on the training. What was the next stage? You went back to HQ and say, hey guys, we've got to do it, or was it all sort of underway anyhow?
Well, absolutely. We started small, and Auto Trader were great, not only with the course, but also with their advice. But we have taken the automotive sector, which makes it so relevant for individuals, and added a little bit more about what we do here as a UK importer. So we bring vehicles in, and then we the conduit to sell them into the UK market. And I think for sometimes it's difficult for people that aren't maybe directly involved in manufacture or logistics or transport to really understand what they can do. And so we were able to bring in our Volkswagen Group global framework and a strategy about Regenerate Plus, our environmental, social governance policies, and really tailor that down to show what's happening within the group, wider group, but also all of the things that you can do within the UK. Yeah. So every marketing decision that we make, are we making that so that there's no printing, there's no paper, it's environmental, recyclable, our facilities decisions, our procurement decisions. And really it was absolutely about trying to educate, inspire, and get those curious minds to say, what can I do? What difference can I make? In terms of how we operate as a business. And I have learned some amazing top tips from the individuals that have been trained as to the best places to buy products, and that community and that experience and those recommendations are just really making it grow within the organisation.
I've often felt that when carbon literacy is working optimally in a workplace, it's like a giant ideas box. You know, it's enabling people to apply what they know about their special bit of what they're doing. Say, no, I can optimize the climate performance of what I'm doing in this way, and I can take it forward and see it come into action. What's been happening for Carbon Literacy Action Day, Leanne?
So the theme this year was inclusivity, and I'm very conscious. I think previous speaker at Manchester Council summed it up beautifully, but we have part-time workers, we have field teams. So we've opened up CLAD this week in a number of different ways to try and access and encourage as many people to get involved. And so this week, I think we'll be just shy of 70 people, but that'll take us about 20% of our workforce that we've trained since we started with CLAD 2023. So that has been educational. It's different doing it on Teams. So a few learnings about making sure that everybody knows what they're doing when we send them out to a team session. But we've had some great feedback, and we've also had some of our board of management involved this week, which is amazing to get that sponsorship right from the top. And I can't wait to see their pledges.
Superb. Leanne, thanks so much for the very evident enthusiasm for all of this and your support so far. And carbon literate organization sounds like 20% of people, maybe?
Absolutely. We just need to do the final tally of trainees and leavers and make sure that I'm not overstating it by a tiny percentage point. But definitely on the cards.
Great. We'll look forward to seeing you at the awards ceremony next year. Then. That's great. Leanne, thanks so much for sparing the time this evening. Take care.
No, thank you.
Thank you. So let's go now to Chloe, I think, to find out about a final tally for this evening. Because obviously we're going to get more numbers as they come on in. But Chloe, how's it looking? What have you been picking up?
Welcome back, everyone. So this is a last announcement for the results. So yes, thank you so much for everyone emailing us and sending us messages in the chat box. We're trying to update the numbers as they come. So sorry if we miss, some of you. I really apologize for that. But yeah, so I just want to put my banner back on the screen now. And yeah, so we've had so far a total of 126 organizations and training providers taking part across the 15 nations confirmed. And so this is very impressive learners numbers I'm about to announce. But we had 4,283 learners trained during CLAD today. So that's nearly doubled what we've done last year. So this is really amazing. And I just wanted to say that hearing about everyone's contribution today is truly inspiring. So thank you, everyone. Obviously, that's just a glimpse of what's happening today on the global level. So just really, really great. Thank you.
A special mention, I should think, sorry if I'm cutting across you, Chloe, but of one organization that couldn't join us today due to logistical reasons is a further education college in Yorkshire, Barnsley College. Did they actually, they had a huge target for Carbon Literacy Action Day?
Absolutely. So they trained over 1,000 students today. So really, bringing carbon literacy into their classroom. And they've been doing this for the past 2 years as well. So thank you for, contributing again to CLAD and making it a bit of an annual tradition at Barnsley.
And I think the inclusion thing comes to life in a further education college. That again, these are less usual learners being brought into climate action. So the inclusion message is writ large there. So yes, Chloe, anything else to report before we move to wrap up?
Just a couple of more organizations. So obviously we have Manchester City Council training 95 council staff within their local authorities. Volkswagen, I've got 76 participants from their staff to senior leaders. And In Good Company in the US as well, that just confirmed 25 learners.
I think Adrienne might be even on the call. She was before. So good morning, San Diego, if it is, if I've got that right. But go on, sorry.
Yes, and yes, I've just had a message from Kinnell Connery as well. I hope I pronounce this properly, in Wales. So thank you for confirming the number of learners and your contribution to CLAD, as well as Cardiff Council. So yes, they apparently train 10 learners. So yes, thank you. But yeah, this, as I say, just this brings us to the 4,283 learners today. So that's everything my end. I could carry it on and share like the
No.
for a really long time. So yes.
Yeah. There's so much to say. And was it 100? How many training organizations again was it? 100?
126.
Wow. In 15 nations. That's so good. Chloe, thank you so much for that roundup. We're going to move to close now, and in order to do so, I would like to invite our co-founder and MD, Dave Coleman, to join me back on the screen. Hi, Dave. And before we come to you, I think we just need to get some thanks going out, and probably an incomplete name roll call here. But let me just thank colleagues Razvan, Annabelle, Lucia, Catherine, Sania, Braz. And obviously Chloe and Grace, you too, Dave, of course, and everyone else who was involved with the Carbon Literacy Project, every single trainer, 126 organizations across 15 nations, every single learner who gave up their time to be part of this extraordinary thing. But yeah, that was the thank yous. Dave, you've been listening, cogitating. How would you summarize what you've been seeing in the last 90 minutes?
As we went through, I was trying to pull out themes that seem to emerge. One that's come out for a number of people is that climate change is a problem for now. So we're familiar with, the thinking only a few years ago that, it's something that was going to happen to our grandchildren or our children or some future issue. It's very clear to all of us increasingly that it's a problem for now that needs to be dealt with. We heard from Michael in Kenya, we heard from Ella in Barcelona, and we've all seen and been shocked by the happenings in Spain and in other locations around the world. But at the same time, Ella was pointing out that despite all of that dark background, and this is a difficult subject to deal with sometimes, carbon literacy can be an inspiring, and I think she indeed used the word joyful, way to address what otherwise could be a really difficult subject. I also thought it was really good the way that people were highlighting some of the core values of carbon literacy that we've always wanted in the standard, like the fact that it's about learners developing a sense of agency. And we heard that from Jane in Jersey, where she was talking about pupils. There's no point in talking to them about their boilers. Let's talk about about things they've got control of. And that's the same, not just for young people at school, but for any person in any walk of life. Carbon literacy is about people recognizing where they are and that they do have agency, even if they didn't initially recognize it, and then taking their actions and exercising that level of agency. Leanne touched on it in Volkswagen, talking to staff and saying, creating this sense of, well, what can I do? I can do something, and then getting on and doing it. Big theme, collaboration, as always. Collaboration has always been at the heart of carbon literacy. We never wanted to compete with things, wanted to bring things together and people together. We've heard that from Stacey at Nissan Amio about how they've taken the foundation laid by Autotrader in that course and then rolled it out internationally in multiple locations. The same approach from Leanne at VW, excuse me. That's one of the core principles. There's so much out there. There's so much material and assets that we've got that others will share. Let's all work together. Let's collaborate, as Georgina and Clinton have been doing, and use carbon literacy not just in a place where it's created in one place, but where those assets can be taken and applied in others. And that spirit of collaboration is there. So it's a phrase that anyone who knows me in the project is well aware that I keep repeating, which is two things, really. One is that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's very much true of carbon literacy. And we look at COP, we hope for a good outcome of COP and positive steps and commitment from organizations. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. It was nice to see our Secretary of State making very positive sounds on our video earlier. But one of the core things that underlies all of this for all of us is start where you are, do what you can, take your level of agency, do what you can within your locus of control, to use the jargon. Don't freak out, take something, do it, then do something else, then do something more, help others, let others help you, let's all work together. And that's the way that we will address and I'm confident overcome the challenges of climate change.
Dave, thank you so much for an astute summary of what we've been talking about today. And it is a summary. I mean, the idea of the Carbon Literacy Action Day is to try to create a microcosm, a showcase for what we can achieve. While the world leaders talk, we act. So thanks for your contribution there, Dave. We also do a thing around here. I know we've slightly overrun. We'll be done in a second, but we do a Carbon Literacy Action Day Catalyst Award for the most inspiring contributions to this project. We'll be announcing that soon. And also in about under 3 weeks, we're launching a new fundraising initiative, our Christmas Challenge, where donations can be doubled through some support there. So watch out for that. And do think about becoming a carbon literate organization, carbon literate educator too. I just saw something coming up on the chat from, and I'll pronounce this wrong, from a delegate in Brazil. We're really looking forward to COP30 in Brazil next year. Looking forward, let's just close on a thought that we know full well that the challenge is huge, both in terms of the climate crisis and some of the global political headwinds, looking particularly to the US. Things have not got easier for us. That in no way must detract from our energy and what we're putting into carbon literacy as an essential ingredient to stabilizing the climate and delivering a safe future for the people and the things that we love, which is what this is all about. So thank you so much to everyone that's participated today, that's been watching this evening, this morning, this afternoon, and get in touch if there's anything we can do to support you in any way. It's been a privilege as ever to be part of this. I can only thank you again and wish you a good rest of your day. Until next time, we'll say goodbye. Farewell.